Right, I'm going to drop us down.
Oh, it's
Ew.
It's quite
Welcome back.
How you doing, guys?
Bingo, full house.
There we go. Hello, folks. Welcome to tonight's ULSTER Rugby Roundup show. WhiteWalkers Chat, part of the 3 Bod group. Tonight's show is brought to you in conjunction with Knackle Biltong, providers of artisan food, Auto Door Solutions, which is the sales and service of automatic doors, and Indie Food, a deli selling indigenous, independent Irish foods. Each month on our show, we will look at all aspects of rugby within and affecting Ulster, including grassroots, provincial, European, mixed ability, visual impaired, wheelchair, women's, schools, and much more. On this month's show, we'll look back at our opening games against Connacht Scarlets. We'll look at the pre-season game against Exeter. We'll preview the big game for tomorrow night against Leinster. And we will actually discuss the emerging Ireland game now that the team has been announced. We will hopefully also have a bit of time to chat about news coming out from Wales Online that the Welsh Rugby Union may consider 2 teams to the Premiership. And I guess we'll have a quick chat about Bundyacky's disciplinary here. And so we've got an awful lot to get through. And also, with me tonight are my 2 partners in crime, Chris Brownfield and I, who will be doing most of the presenting. And as we have said before, we do let Dave Topping out of the TMO truck now and again. How are you guys?
Off.
What's this place? Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Topping.
Hello, everybody. You know what?
Mr. Quigley, good to see you, sir.
You too. You too.
Nice to be back along you guys for a change. It's like, now TMO truck's nice. Now, don't get me wrong, and the TM biscuits ain't bad, but crikey, it's nice to get back out in the paddock here.
Nice to see you, sir. Nice to see you.
It's always good to have you here, buddy. It's always good to have you here. So,
Rich, what's the crack anyway? How you guys coped over the postseason?
Well, let Mr. Quigley go first.
Well, we haven't really had much of a close season, I'm glad to say, so not too bad, frankly. And we've been watching lots of games, like Super Rugby's all right. It's actually been quite good. But we're back in the scheme of things now. We're back where we want to be. We're back in the URSC. It's great to see it back. And so looking forward to the rest of the season. It's going to be a cracker, I think, this year. I really do. But what about you, Chris?
Yeah, busy. It has been hectic. We started planning the South Wales fan zones. We started planning those in about August. So our off season was probably shorter than most. And obviously the club didn't really stop. We kept pretty active all the way through. And certainly in terms of rugby, the Super Rugby stuff, yeah, it's interesting to see the talent coming through down in the Southern Hemisphere. All that kind of stuff like that's going to feed into the challenge we're going to face this year, particularly with the South African sides and bits and pieces. New Zealand obviously had a bit of an odd international sort of spike, didn't they? With a few losses along the way. So yeah, it's been interesting, and certainly everyone's writing them off. I would write New Zealand off of your peril for the Rugby World Cup, regardless of what happens.
Agree with that. Yeah.
Oh well, you know what? I've been busy getting penalised for time wasting. Ravenhill just took one look at me, just said, "No, you don't waste time. I'm the referee. You just go. I say you play. No.
Yeah, can we move along?
You know what? I have to admit, it's been one of the strangest couple of weeks I've seen. Now, certainly in terms of rugby. Have you ever seen anybody being penalised for time wasting before?
Well, not to that extent, I've got to say. And obviously, Faf de Klerk taking a swipe at moustaches. I mean, that's just wrong on all levels. Could you imagine if someone took a swipe at Darren Cave's a moustache? The outrage would be phenomenal. If someone
I'll tell you what, it had to be the sniper shot of the season, without a doubt. You know, definitely. What a shot that was, you know. Don't know what Faf de Klerk had to do with it, frankly. But yes, the refereeing decision, I'm really torn on that. He did tell him to take it. He did faff about. His teammates were shouting for him to kick it out. But what was always in the back of my mind was, do you remember the conversion he took before they could review the try that may have been disallowed or may not have been disallowed? We don't know. But yeah, it was a strange one. That strange game. I understand the All Black fans' excitement at it, but I do get the Oz fans' anger at it as well. Anyway, that's another competition, guys.
And did I see something about somebody scoring an own try earlier in the week? Was that one of the Argentinians? Or did I see that?
Wait, actually,
somebody scored an own try for the first time in international rugby. What was that all about? Either that or I was dreaming again, so that's possible. Let me see if I can find this.
You'll have to show me that one, mate.
I'm going to see if I can find it.
Right.
And if anybody out there can find us a link to it, throw it into the comments there, so you certainly that'll be well worth a lucky.
I think so. Right, okay, let's get stuck in then, lads, because we've plenty to get through. We'll just do it in a timeline. So I want to go first to the pre-season game against Exeter Chiefs. Obviously, the game against Glasgow was cancelled because of the death of Her Majesty the Queen, and we're all sad at that, very much so, and understandably, a lot of the sport was cancelled, and rightly so, I believe. But it was a strange game. It really was a game of two halves because both teams brought quite large squads. I thought, for me, the interesting thing was that Ulster started with what I would have called on paper the lesser squad. Exeter started with the stronger squad, and that kind of flipped in the second half. But for Ulster, the best performance was the first half, which was unusual with the team that they started. And all seven new signings started, and I thought they played really, really well. I think all seven of them put their hands up. We know two of them are off on the emergent tour, and we've got our own Dev Toner now, of course, haven't we? And there's a lot of excitement about Michael McDonald, not from the Doobie Brothers, by the way. This is a young lad who plays rugby. Don't worry. And for me, the one that I get a little interested in is Sean Raffel. The flanker, I really like the look of that guy.
Yeah, Sean had, without doubt, and awesome. He played the full 80, didn't he? I think he did.
He did, yeah.
Or at least
I think he did. Or if he didn't, he went off and came on again very quick. But I think he might have played the full 80. But he put in the most tackles. It was his turnovers. He done 4 or 5 turnovers in that game. The guy is looking to be a really, really good signing for us. But I thought all 7 of them. I mean, it was the confidence. I actually looked at the teams that were starting and thought, this is going to be a bit painful for the first 40 because these guys won't know each other. These guys, okay, they'll have played in the system, but they won't really understand each other well. And hey, what do I know? They were actually really, really good. You know?
I think they were just given the license of just throw the ball about and enjoy it. Get out the ring rust and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes, and I've said this for a long time, sometimes I think talent can be overcoached, and raw talent can be always coached over a player. Because those guys, the young guns, were absolutely phenomenal. They threw it about, and in the second half, when the structured set come in, you could actually see less dynamic play. And it was all about structure.
It was a 19-0 first half to Ulster and a 12-all second half, wasn't it? So, of course, the game ended up 31-12, which is a handsome victory at any time against an Exeter team. And I know they had another game over in Italy, but Rob Baxter was in Belfast. He wasn't in Italy, and that's where most of his top players were. But I think we've a lot to... Nice to see Mad's getting a run out as well, and Geordie got a run out. So it's good to see
some
them.
great scores. Stockers, Luke Marshall. Great to see the old guns back over the line again, which was fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jacob's back. I think he just needs a few games, and we'll get tries out of him again, hopefully tomorrow night. But the way he's carrying and the way he's catching, the speed, he's got the speed back.
His hunger is phenomenal. He is going to looking for the ball.
Just going to say that he looks like a guy very hungry for success again, and that's what we need in Jacob Stockdale.
Well, in that case, lads, and maybe this is what Ulster put up earlier on for tomorrow. This is what we want to see.
Yeah, ball in hand.
Yeah.
Can I just say, can I have that ball in two hands? Let's not have flashbacks to Leinster 2019.
We could have won that.
No.
Although I always say, in fairness, great tackle by Dave Curdy that day. But yeah, if he had it in two hands, he would have scored. Yeah, absolutely. But so it was a warm up game, and it very much was a warm up game. Both teams threw the ball around, and as you said, Chris, particularly in the first half, they were allowed to express themselves. What I liked was that given we had 7 new starts and some young lads and not starting 15, the way that the players gelled and interacted impressed me. Because we had a lot of new players. We only had a few weeks really to pick up the systems and how Ulster play, and they seemed to slot straight into it. So fair play to the coaches as well for allowing that to progress as quickly as it did.
And Jake Flannery looked absolutely awesome.
He did, and frankly, that lad Michael McDonald looks like a hell of a good signing too, to be honest. And I keep forgetting the guy's name, the big second row. What's his name? We'll learn it.
We will
learn it. It's terrible.
Hightar. We'll call him Hightar.
Call him Hightar.
Or is that not Bradshaw Ryan by any chance?
That's him. But he looks a more capable guy than his height suggests. Frankly, he was quite a mobile guy. Actually, very mobile. But we've got a good depth of the squad this season, and as we'll discuss a little bit later, we need it. But that's a subject for a few minutes down the road. Right, guys, good. We'll move on to the first game, which was at home to Connacht. I don't know about you, and I don't know how the season will progress, but I expected a really tough game there.
Well, I will say, I think everybody was expecting Connacht to step up like they did last season and absolutely bring it to us now. I don't know what was going on, in terms of what their pre-season had been like, in terms of their build-up. If there was any interruptions, obviously we missed one against Glasgow, but they looked like a completely undercooked side, completely ill-prepared. I was very fortunate to be over in Belfast for that fixture that'll be the last night till Christmas, whatever. But it was just tremendous to see the guys literally link up. Doak was electric around the park. There's a few times you argue he's a bit slow to the ball, but around the park he was pretty much there at every ruck and breakdown. The link play between the backs, I just walked away thinking to myself, God help any back line facing what we're delivering at the minute. And then I sort of think there's still boys to come back in. There is. And it's you're right about the link play. I think that's the one thing that we've only had 3 games or two competitive games, but that's the one thing that stood out for me so far is the link play, particularly between the backs and the forwards, but particularly in the backs. They seem to have it. They seem to have it really worked out. So long may that continue, because that will be a nightmare to play against. Connacht did score 1 try, and they got a penalty, I think, just on half time. But it was taking the gloss off what was a pretty heavy defeat. I agree with you, Chris. They looked very undercooked for me, a bit like Glasgow did away at Benetton the same weekend. They just looked like a team that hadn't played any rugby. But it was a convincing win, I think we can safely say. David, what were your observations of it, mate?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to expect some ring rust in the first game. It's always the way. Yes, okay, it's an Interpro against Connacht, and to be honest with you, I think at first I was expecting a closer game than what it turned out to be. But I thought we took our chances well. Yes, there's plenty. There were plenty of errors for sure, but overall, I thought Connacht just looked a bit lost. Absolutely lost, and which is not like Connacht, because normally Connacht, when they're playing us, they're usually pretty switched on.
Yeah, defensively they were very weak. Their up front tackles, were just getting walked through by McCluskey. Jacob Stockdale, they were just literally walking over the top of those first up tackles. That's really un-Connacht like. You expect them to make those tackles and be back for the next hit, and they just sluggish getting back even for the second phase and third phase. They were just all over the place, 6 and 7.
I think it's becoming a wee bit of a thing with Ulster that we've lacked in many seasons. That Ulster pack are starting to become a very dangerous unit, and I think we did overpower them a bit up front as well. But I don't think did Ulster play very well for a first game. Yeah, they did. I thought, as you said, Chris, Connacht were actually quite poor and looked very rusty. Again, like Glasgow, didn't look like a team that played much rugby. But hey, it was 5 points. We take it.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, the next week we paid a trip to Parky Scarlets, and we witnessed what turned out to be, and I suppose for the neutral and in the end for the Ulster fans, an absolute thriller of a game. I mean, two teams that absolutely wanted to play through it about rugby. And I was thoroughly entertained by that game, and we had the highs and the lows of it because we went 14-0 up. Yeah,
I'll tell you what was really interesting is Aaron Sexton got to stretch his legs for the first time in a senior shirt. And the problem is, he was kind of looking over his shoulder thinking, who's with me? And that could be, with all the amazing stuff that Aaron will do for us, his unhinging could be very few will stay with him, which means when he needs that support play, he might actually run away from it and find himself isolated because of his sheer pace.
Look, I think with Aaron, it's a case of, we've talked about Aaron Sexton for a couple of seasons now. We've all wanted to see him. It looks like this season we're going to see him. Yeah. And I'm delighted to see that. His game will improve, like everybody's with game time, playing in the senior squad. He's going to make a few mistakes. He's going to get the odd isolation, as you say, Chris, because he is a extremely fast runner. He's an extremely fast guy. But what always comes back to me is, and what I actually listened to David Humphreys talking about him, and I think it was during the Exeter game, and he knew him as a kid, and he fully expects Aaron Sexton to push through and become a major contender. And look, we've all seen it before. We've got really good players, and we're always saying, why can we not have them through now? Why are we not seeing them now? The coaches know what they're doing. They know where people fit in the cycle. And, just all of a sudden one season, this player will appear in the senior team, and they'll be there. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is going to be great. And on the Scarlets thing, speaking, obviously, I was watching it. We were away for the weekend and missed the game in terms of weren't at Parky Scarlets and myself, but watching it on telly when Saxton took that high ball and was taken out in the air, I looked at it and thought, that's definitely a yellow. And actually, you could push that for red. Where the South Wales fans were, it actually right happened in front of them, and every one of them were hell-bent sure that should be a red card all day. And there's going to be this inconsistency. We'll talk about it all season with decisions for and against. All it happens every match anyway.
I think I tried to sort of watching it,
from a neutral perspective.
No, that's impossible. But watching it on the replays and then trying to sort of apply the protocols, and I mean, that was an early kickoff, so I didn't have any beer out of coffee actually. No, sorry. The guy wasn't in a realistic position to catch the ball or compete for it, that's for sure. So there is foul play. Okay, but Aaron kind of tried to break his fall a little, I think, and ended up landing kind of on his shoulder first, then his head. I think if he landed on his head, it would have been straight red.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because it was foul play. And because I remember the officials talking about that, and they said that, does he land on his shoulder or does he land on his head? And they discussed that, and they decided, and I think it was first his shoulder, and that mitigate down to a yellow. And even when I first saw it, I thought, oh, yellow, this could be a red, that kind of thing. Whereas most fans of their own team are going to go red. I don't do that. I was looking at it and going, it's a yellow, definitely, but that could be a red.
Yeah, that's right, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You're being called out here by Johnny Wappa on having a sobering point of view. Johnny Wappa's very confused.
That's only because it was a 1 o'clock kickoff.
Is that your defense for mitigating the
That is the only reason. I guarantee the 7:30 kickoffs. That's not the reaction you get.
TMO, he's calling for a mitigating circumstance.
Is it? Arrest that man. No, I know.
Here, how long for the coffee? That's doing a yonker. That is. Yeah.
Oh, I know. But at this point, I guess I certainly won't be having a coffee tomorrow night.
Going back
No. Yeah, you'll be having coffee with natural grain-based additives.
Minus the coffee, yeah.
But you've got to say though, the Scottish game, open, flowing, end to end, all shift. It was a really, really fine thing. Now the result obviously favoured us significantly. It put us top of URSC ahead of Leinster and everybody else. But what's really interesting is I think our defensive setup will be absolutely gutted to ship 5 tries, and some of those were reasonably easy tries to ship.
Well, that was going to be one of the comments I was going to make, Chris, that it wasn't a night for defence coaches because both teams just went for flow and attack. Oh, there's Joe getting the zipper down. Anyway. We're going to have to get a little icon of a guy waving his willy going across the screen every time Joe comes on. But we could have a bit of fun with these lads from the Lion, in a week's time. Aye. But it was a super game to watch. I'm sure the neutrals loved it. I mean, I was on some of the forums, because I was drinking coffee. It's that'll be a change, Joe. Anyway, but it was the nature of the try. We've got to put a shout out to Stu McCluskey for his try for Luke Marshall. I mean, that was just that was just Stu McCluskey at his best, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they'd obviously planned that because although I think possibly Luke Marshall thought the pass was forward, as it turned out not to be because he sort of went in and went, "Can I touch this? I'll put it down."
What's quite interesting is Luke Marshall trying to hand one of those back at the Scarlets game. So Marshall trying to throw exactly the same play with a shoulder, literally a carbon copy. It didn't quite work. Stuff they've been practicing.
Well, we had again. Sadly, he got I think he's a groin injury or a hamstring. Sean Fell, I think's injured. He was on the bench for that game, wasn't he? Day Joe.
Wow.
Was quick. Not like the flying machines Leinster will have out tomorrow night, no doubt. Anyway, Dave Kearney. Zip and fast forward. Anyway, good job as a fast forward on it. Every time Dave Kearney gets the ball, you can say, right, okay, 10 seconds fast forward.
Okay, we'll just be kicking the ball.
Rewind.
Right. Anyway, Joe, stop hogging the lane, mate. Bloody Leinster, man, honestly. But it was some again, but a really great interplay with the backs and the forwards again. It demonstrated the same again. But yeah, the defense went out the window. And in fairness, and Joe will love this, say we certainly can't do that tomorrow night.
No,
not a chance. Otherwise, we could ship 7 tries if we do that. So I think tomorrow night we'll get on that, but I think tomorrow night will be a bit of a different animal from that game because that game got away with itself, I think, and both teams got into it and they both just went for the flair rugby. And
I've got that sort of thing that you'll not be able to put that amount of attack and play in at the same time retaining that degree of defensive performance. So we're going to have to, something's going to have to give, and it can't be the defense. That has got to be tightened up for tomorrow.
It's got to be balanced. What do you think about David?
Oh, I just sat there open mouthed thinking this is probably the best game of rugby I've seen in quite some time. How we managed to ship some of those tries, I still have no idea. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But it's probably some of the best rugby I've seen Ulster play in terms of attacking. Not so much defence. The defence was shocking in times, and I'll openly say it. But no, I'll take McCluskey uploads every day of the week. Thank you very much.
So what do we think about the rolling maul at the minute, Mr. Toppin?
I think we're getting away from it. I think it's actually, in one way it's probably throwing a few teams off. That we're not going for the rolling maul as much.
Yes and no. I mean, I was talking to our friend from the Leggings show, the Leinster show, Connor,
Uh-huh.
and he said Ulster are playing very like Ireland, which I kind of agree with. But I think Ulster have been trying to play this way for 3 seasons now.
I think they're actually.
I would agree. I would agree they're better at it this season. You know, look better at it this season, and it is very much the way Ireland are trying to play under Farrell. But it's the rolling balls. I'll tell you one thing we are doing a lot of is trying to push forward on the balls from the 5 meters, and then we've got particularly Rob Herring going off on his own then on our own. That seems we've done that against the All Blacks as well. So that's obviously something Ireland is using as well. As long as he stays close to his support, that's fine, because he's going to get isolated against some teams doing that.
Yeah, I think a bit of variance in that it's going to help us in the long run. You know, and even if you come back to a couple of real good, you know, good standard mauls, you know, we'll be happy. But it's but I like the fact that they're actually trying something new, and it seems to be working. It's going to be. I think it's going to be slow progress, but it's working.
Rugby's not a game of rocket science, you know, and if you do the same thing all the time, teams will figure you out. I mean, we see that at the top level. Ireland got to #1 in the rankings in 2018, but their game was totally figured out and was just taken apart by other teams. And you know, but we're now seeing in Ireland, and I think we're seeing it in the provinces as well, a lot more variation in the place. But I think Ulster have always tried to play that way. They just seem to be better at it this season, or probably tail end last season as well. They were quite good, but the interplay is very good. In fairness, I think all provinces are trying to play a bit that way. Just some aren't faring too well with it at the minute. We'll not talk about other provinces too much, but I mean, Munster have to be bitterly disappointed with the start of their season too, and I don't quite understand why they are where they are. But I'm sure somebody will have a.
Yes, I totally agree with this. This would be an interesting one.
It's all right talking about it behind a keyboard, isn't it, on the screen?
Here, sir. It's all right. Well, we've got Chairman Mao in the middle there, you know. Say, you know.
Chairman Mao.
You know, oh, Craigie, come on! After Rodney Parade last season, it was like, oh, I still have the photograph. You know, it's just you know, you could frame it and put it up there. You know, Chairman Brownfield and Prime Minister King, you know, Craigie. Yeah, and here's me, the jester. You know.
I would never say that about you, David.
I would.
So anyway, it turned out a 5-point and a bonus point win. I remember we were 14-0 up, then it came back to 15-14. Now, for God's sake, we're collapsing here. You know? And then it just toed and froed, and Ulster put the foot in the throat in the end. We can't play the Leinsters and the Stormers and the Bulls. We can't play like that against them, or we just, you know. I'm a bit frightened by the fact that if we go down the road of, well, we just score more than you. Well, okay, that's great if we can. But let's have a bit of defence in this too, guys. You know.
Well, here I'm going to put it out there as well. One of the comments up there, John Cooney with 30 points.
30 points.
You know, lovely to see him back in form. And he actually missed one. What happened there?
Yeah.
You know. Not like him.
Decider for the next one, Dave.
Oh yes.
He had a wee brain fart for a minute though, because then he kicked one out in the full straight after it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I.
But they're 30 points. Can't.
I'll tell you what. You know, I was sort of having this we thought earlier. Obviously, Nathan Doak is starting to shine, and he is going to be an absolutely immense player. But I just wonder, you know, where are the fan base at the minute? You know, in terms of the Cooney Dokey debate, that will rage on for a long time yet.
No, Cooney. Well, in Ulster, Cooney in Ireland, not an issue anymore. And let's just put to bed. We never understood why. Blah blah blah. Whatever. You know my thoughts on green shirts. It's the guys want to play in the green shirt. I'm not bothered whether they do or not. And that doesn't mean I don't support Ireland. I support whoever Ireland pick. But I don't get into this willy waving exercise of who, because everybody seems to want their team in it. And Leinster have it at the minute. And so let's hope Leinster can win the World Cup first, because if they don't, they're going to get some stick. Like, but and somebody just put, oh, it's Joe. Oh, of course it's Joe. McCluskey can't defend. There you go. That's news to me.
That's news to me as well. But then again,
I think if you go and have a look, Joe, at his defensive stats last season and the last 2 seasons before that doesn't really back up what you're saying. But then we see these arguments come up all the time to why McCluskey shouldn't be in the Ireland setup. I'm not even going to discuss it. I don't care. Frankly, I just don't care. If he's in, he's in. If he's not, we have him. What? That's the end of it. That's the end of the conversation.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. And at the minute, Cooney last week is play from the back of the breakdown, the back of the ruck, the back of the scrum. He was getting that ball away far, far quicker. I would love to see what the stat percentage was in ball being away in under 2 seconds from breakdown, because I'm fairly sure virtually every one of those balls was clear within under 2 seconds. And, we get Doki still pointing the ball, pointing the players, and blah, blah. We need that ball out there super quick. And that's what Cooney was bringing to the party last week.
Well, it's quick ball out of the ruck. It's always better for your backs because, defenses have to take time to set. And the quicker you get it away, the more likely you are to catch a gap. So, it's great if they do that. Also, we mentioned for little Magic Mike, 143 meters.
Meters made.
And that wee fella just looks more dangerous every season. And I hope he has a cracker again this year. I think a few were surprised he wasn't away with the Emerging Ireland side, but perhaps that's because he's seen as part of the larger Ireland squad at the minute. I think we have to be realistic here. I mean, I have to say, somebody made a comment to me actually on another page today and said, I thought Stu McCluskey was away on the Emerging Ireland side. And I said, well, frankly, sending Stu McCluskey on an Emerging Ireland team is as insulting as sending Max Deegan and Robert Balogun on an Emerging Ireland team, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, you look at those 2 players there that, what? Emerging Ireland? Those guys should be in the wider squad. But, hey, what? We'll see. Nathan Doak, yeah, I get that. I've always, my opinion on Nathan Doak. I don't think him and Sexton would mix well unless he's prepared to bite at Sexton. He seems quite a cocky little bugger. So he's probably better biding his time till Sexton retires and then try and make a move in.
Otherwise, he'd be in the same position of wheeling someone's feet. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, well, you could end up in the same position as John Cooney. I don't like him. He's a cocky bugger. Not playing with him. I don't know. But that's one of the rumours. Very strong one, I have to say. But I don't know. I'm not there. I don't see the conversations. So I think he is better waiting until Johnny Sexton retires. Because we are, whether you like it or not, going to be relying heavily on Johnny Sexton for this World Cup. I don't like that, by the way, given the guy's age and his injury profile. But that's the way Ireland has set up. We haven't brought anybody through to pull his boots on. That's as good as him, and he needs to be wrapping cup. He needs to be wrapping cup. Get for the World Cup as best as possible. But of course, Leinster are going to need him for. He's on the bench tomorrow night, I noticed. But they're going to need him for their Heineken Cup games and the tail end of the season. If they're there at the sticky end, which they are going to be, they're going to need him for that as well.
Nice to see Thomas Stewart in the Emerging Ireland squad.
He starts tomorrow.
He starts at Hooker.
Mm-hmm. He starts tomorrow. Yeah. He had a fantastic game. He got man of the match last week.
Indeed.
Probably a few could have got it, but fair play. He got man of the match. Or did he get it against Connacht?
Who's this?
We got it against Connacht, didn't he?
Connacht.
Yeah.
He got it against Connacht. Rob Stewart.
Yeah.
But I watched him in the under-20s and he had a bad run with injury last season. So it's it'll be interesting to see how he goes. He looks like a serious. I think Dan McFarlane said that he's got a very high ceiling and he hasn't reached it yet. So he's like a bowling ball for what was he, 21?
I think he is. He's a real hub.
He's gonna do well, I think. So anyway, okay, another 5-pointer in the bag eventually, but very entertaining game. Well, we better hope it does, Johnny, because I think we absolutely. I mean, listen. We were having a laugh at. That somebody said got the Saxons mixed up today, and they're saying, Saxon wouldn't get a game for Ulster, and somebody was saying, "What? You said he's not better than Burns?" And I said, "Not in Ulster, he isn't. Not in Ulster, he isn't." But
I think there's none of a tip council, but like that one.
We will be relying really heavily on Johnny Sexton if we're to do much in this World Cup, and I think we all accept that. It's just nobody has his experience. He's playing with players that let's be honest with, he's familiar with week in, week out in the main. And he's a general of that side, and he's also the general of the Ireland side. And I think if you take him out, we'll still do well enough against some teams, but I don't think we'd go too far in the World Cup without him at this stage, this time round, because there's nobody's, there just to step in. He's tried a few. Nobody's put their hand up and said, I am the man to replace him. But we need to be finding one soon, because after next season, if we're still playing Johnny Sexton at 10, we're not going forward, I think, after the next World Cup. Just my opinion. But anyway. All right, so there's a game tomorrow night, isn't there?
There is. I'm not sure who's playing tomorrow night. Is it the Leinster thirds v Ulster first?
No, it isn't, actually. Strangely enough, it is not.
It definitely is. But when we hammer them, that'll be the first thing out of their mouth. We were only playing our weekend side.
I was in their fifth. I know. It was her kindergarten.
Well, let's see. Let's have a wee look at it. Here, look at the two teams. Here's Ulster's lot.
That's pretty much what played last week, though, wasn't it?
I'm sorry, I've just dribbled over my keyboard.
Yeah.
That's a tasty looking setup, though, isn't it? Great to see Moxon back. Big favourite of yours, Mr. Quigley.
I like Moxon, but I'm sticking with my prediction that he is going to be a centre, but he's a winger for now. I've seen the guy in the flesh, and he's a monster of a man he's a big unit. He is actually, just as soon as I seen him first play live, it was he came off the bench and actually played centre. I think it was against the Sharks last season. And he was standing 20 feet in front of me, and I was like, my God, I thought it was Stu McCluskey, but shaved his head, He's the size of Stu McCluskey, that guy, and I was thinking, wow, he's got, but he can cover both positions at the moment.
Yeah, he can. I'll tell you what needs to happen, going back to that team you had just there, Mr. Toppin. Nick Timoney was actually on the pitch last week, but he actually had a very quiet game comparatively. We need Timoney to be absolutely off the blocks at full pelt tomorrow.
No, why would I have to explain why you lost by 35 points? That's just silly. Catch yourself on.
And I'll tell you that. Okay, for the purposes of balance, let's show this.
That is the thirds.
Leinster reserves.
It's certainly not a second team.
No,
but like ourselves, they've got some players out, they've got some players injured, missing. Saw a list, actually, an update from Leinster at the start of the week. They have a few players.
Has Stu Lyons counted up the number of Ireland caps for Leinster against the Ireland caps for Ulster?
He should know that off the top. He should know that off the top of his head.
That is a tasty looking team, to be fair, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's the strongest team they probably have available at the moment. Yeah. I mean, they're coming up to play this game. They're coming up to try and win this one, which they don't often do, to be honest. But I think all competitions are going to be a bit. Quentin. He'd probably have to wind down from the Super Rugby. He did play off the bench in the last game last weekend, didn't he?
Yeah.
So we probably won't have him for another week. Oh, here we go. Sir Seconds.
The excuses are coming out now.
Oh.
Somebody actually said to me today that they thought that Ulster back, particularly the benches, the Ulster one looked very late. And I was sort of going, well, hang on a minute. Angus Curtis, we'd have seen a lot more of him except for injury last season. Angus Curtis is he's actually very like Luke Marshall. I think the way he plays, the way he's built. Yeah. You've got Big Ben Moxon, who's just a big unit. He's a guy that needs to progress a bit, I think, and start using that size a bit more. But again, it does come with game time and confidence. He's a young cup too, and we forget that. He's only 21, 22. And who else have we got out there?
You got Shan the Man.
Shan the Man.
There we are, as always, reliable Shanners.
You can't. He just delivers when he comes on every time. I'm delighted to see him stay, especially when we're so kind of heavy with nines now. I thought he might.
You've got to say the 1 minute last weekend was a bit of a damn squib for him. Can you really call 1 minute a cap?
Not really, but
Then
Cooney was ticking along pretty well, wasn't he?
was.
And I dare say the same might happen tomorrow night, especially against Leinster. If Cooney's playing well, he'd stay on.
Greg Jones is just reliable as a powerhouse, isn't he? Greg Jones goes about his work really quietly, but does it well week in, week out. He's just one of those guys that goes unseen with some really good back row.
Oh yeah. But I think the Treadwell Connor combination will be good. Treadwell's kicked on since getting looked at for Ireland again. He's become a better player. Tom O'Toole, he's part of the Ireland setup now as well. Rob Herring there. Andrew Warwick. It's great to see him hitting a bit of form. He didn't last too long last week though, so I'm not sure how long he'll stay on for. Back rows. Matty Ray, Marcus Ray, Nick Timoney. Well, Nick Timoney is now taking that 8th shirt, I think, pretty much as his own. Marcus Ray, I think, is one who's kind of fallen between the gaps. I think he's a super player. I think he tackles well. He turns over ball. For me, he might even have sort of surpassed his brother. But although it's great to see Matty back. Matty's a big lad. You sort of wonder if he maybe shouldn't be looked at maybe as a lock. He's very tall for a flanker, but he does the trick. I don't know what's happening with Jordy Murphy. Has anybody heard anything about Jordy? Is he injured?
Well, Jordy obviously captained our pre-season friendly, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Against Exeter, first half. I don't know. But he's not injured, I don't think, is he?
I haven't heard anything to say that he is.
No, I haven't seen him on the list.
Well, he's done a good job captaining that first half, mate.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems to bring him in very slowly. And we don't have Sean Raffel for this week, who I think really has put his hand up for a first show, and that's a lad that could be very, very good for us. Our front row replacements pretty much picked themselves at the minute too. Although, sorry, who's our? It's Marty Moore and
O'Sullivan. Yeah.
And who's the hooker replacement? It's
John Andrew again.
John Andrew, John Andrew's a funny one too, because I thought last season he played so well, especially when we didn't have
last season. So when Rob Heron was out for the Autumn Internationals and the Six Nations, John Andrew was really hitting the straps, and when Rob Heron came back in, there was almost a bit of a displacement of balance again, because he wasn't getting that continuity of rugby, but. Yeah, he was doing really well early on.
And then now you've got Rob Stewart into the mix, who I think is going to figure a lot this season. John Andrew's going to have to fight at times to stay in the squad. And he's a brilliant player, so it's a good squad. It's probably a bit like Leinster. It's probably as good as we've got available at the moment as far as senior players go and trusted players. So he's gone with that. But yeah, no doubt about it. We're playing a quality team tomorrow night.
So on the verge of everything's going well, where does Will Allison fit in when he comes back?
Will Allison will be fighting for his place.
He is, isn't he? I think so.
Mm-hmm. Will Allison's not walking straight back onto this team unless Mr. Farrell insists on it. Not a chance. I mean, he's been out too long. He's going to take time to come back in. If he does, I hope he does, because he's a quality player. But he's not walking straight onto that side. I mean, he's not going to put Mike Larry at 15 at the minute. And I'm going to be honest with you. One of the lads we'll discuss in a minute, which we better get on to soon, actually, is Stuart Moore, who I think is a highly intelligent player and has slotted into 15 and played it like it was his natural position, which it isn't. Will Allison, if he gets back fit, is going to have to fight for his place. Right, so that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
But the opposition we're up against tonight, we certainly can't play the rugby we played last week. They're going to be better opposition than we faced in the first 2 weeks. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we go. I mean, they had a pretty easy run last week, Leinster. They had a pretty unusual run away to Benetton. I mean, they scraped that win, but wasn't the first team. It's a first game of the season. Some teams don't come out with all the guns blazing. And I don't think Leinster did. And they nearly lost that game.
They still managed to grind it out. That's the
grind it out though, and that's a sign of a good team that grind out wins when they're playing badly. Because Leinster played badly in that game, they ran away. I've said that Benetton's done that twice now, but so has Zebra. They've lost out first half, come back second half. That's something we'll discuss maybe sometime, is what way Zebra are going, because they're a bit of a strange one. So it's going to be really tight tomorrow. I mean, I know the bookies have, I think they've Leinster as 3-point favourites tomorrow. Of course, I'm going to go for an Ulster win. I'm an Ulster fan. I'm not going to go for a Leinster win. Don't be stupid. But it's going
to prediction, Mr. Quigley.
I think it's going to be a very hard game for us to win, a very tight game. I don't see anybody running away with it, but you just don't know. You know, it only takes one part of a game to go wrong. One part of a game, and you could be on the end of a 25, 30-point hammering.
I'm going with scoreline 28-23, Ulster's favour.
It's going to be, I think if Ulster win it, which I hope they do, it's going to be by a score. Yeah, it's going to be a score, I think. I don't know if we'll see any bonus points. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, I'm going for a tighter one. I'm going for a 3-point win for Ulster.
I'm going 5.
Yeah.
This is not one where I'm saying, like, and I know Joe's having it. Joe's a good lad. Like,
yes, Joe, we want your prediction, Mr.
Yes, go on, Joe.
Leinster fans that come out us went 5 in the bag. We're going to hump them. I don't think you are actually. But it's an interesting game. I think it'll be a cracking game. I think it'll be a cracking game. So anyway, look, we're going to have to move on quickly because we've gone well tonight.
Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah. Of course he says that for every game, but
he's actually made a misprint there. That's not what that says at all.
I think it was complete distraction.
That's right. Aye.
Complete delusion. He just like using more letters than he actually meant. Can we have a quick chat about the Emerging Ireland? Now, you know, I'm kind of like, blah, blah, blah. What the hell are we doing this for in the middle of a season? Right at the start of the season. We're playing Leinster this weekend. We've got Munster coming up. We've got, oh, for God's sake, why are we sending players away? Smurfs. We're playing the Smurfs. But anyway, we have got some Ulster lads playing in this Emerging Ireland thing. I'm sorry I can't get excited about it. Tomorrow at 12:45, we're playing. Who are we playing first?
The Griquas.
The Griquas. And I had the team up there, but I went and let's have a look. You got the team there, dude?
Something me and Joe Lyons agree on. Should have been played during the autumn test window. I think Mr. Lyons, everyone agrees with that. The timing is
absolutely, Joe, because it's a separate squad to what the senior Ireland team's going to be. These are guys that are going to be playing for and that's sad for I think it's sad for like some Max Deegan and Robert Balakoon, who I thought most people would have thought would get into the larger Ireland senior squad. They're now looking like they're going to be injury infills.
And the fact that Andy Farrell is not traveling to South Africa tells you how little respect he's got for this.
Okay. So the 15.
Go ahead anyway.
Don't know if you have it there, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Here you go. Here's the 15. Front row is Josh Wickerley, Tom Stewart, and Thomas Clarkson. Second row is Joe McCarthy, Tom Ahern, David McCann. At 7, Scott Penny. 8, Max Deegan. Nathan Doak at scrum half. Jack Crowley at fly. Rob Balakoon and Shane Daly, Calvin Nash, on the wings. Shane Daly's fullback, and in the middle we got Stuart Moore and Jimmy Osborne.
Right, okay. I mean, I'll tell you what, actually, I'm looking at that back row and thinking that's actually a back row most club teams would probably like to have, isn't it?
I mean, there's no shortage of talent, and across the 4 provinces, and you can include Connacht and Munster in that, is that there is actually no shortage of talent that are coming through. And it's about how they do get integrated. So if you look at the wider picture, so to speak, and there's people of fame who have made that statement, look at the wider picture. Ultimately, it's going to progress. It's going to be good for them when they integrate back into the provinces. It's going to be good for them when they eventually integrate back into the national stage. But timing is wrong. I think that's the reality. The time's
wrong. You have to bring some brioche for Antoine Frisch. Narf. Anyway.
Nice to see Jake Flannery and McDonald in the replacements there as well.
Obviously, Michael McDonald has been brought in. I mean, he's played one game for Ulster and straight into this Emerging Ireland squad. So they must view him quite high. Jake Flannery as well. But we've got Nathan Doak and Jack Crowley. That's great to see two young fellas putting together, I suppose. I mean, I get the idea behind it, and I have no issue with the players picked, probably with the exception of Deegan and Balakun, who I think are probably, I would have thought were a bit further up the order, but they're obviously not. The other players, it's great to see them get a run in, but totally agree with Joe Lyons. This is one for the autumn windows. It's a different squad to the senior squad. I don't get why we're playing it during the league at all. I just don't get it at all. I mean, I'm no expert on the Graicas. Are you guys? Quentin, where are you? What's the chances here of a win or whatever? I don't really know.
I mean, I would have to say, based on the 15 and match day 23 that Ireland are putting out, you'd have to, without knowing too much with the Graicas, you would still give Ireland a really strong chance of coming away with a win, based purely on the squad that they're putting out.
I'll just hope so. I don't get me wrong, I'll watch it because I'm invoicing tomorrow, you know. So I might
are you really?
Hey, tomorrow's the 30th.
It'd be nice to see them play the Cheetahs. It'd be nice to see the Cheetahs back.
That would probably be the biggest test for them, won't it? The Cheetahs,
yeah.
I think. Yeah,
we get Ruan, don't we? So that's okay. King Ruan,
right.
Back, so we have
okay. Brilliant. Okay, going to put that one to bed, guys, for now. There's been a discussion online, and it apparently is correct, that the Welsh Rugby Union are in talks with the Premiership to possibly move 2 Welsh regions over to the Premiership next season. So before I just want your opinions on this, guys. I am of the opinion either 4 stay or 4 go. I'm not into this. I'm not into this having a foot in each league. I think the Premiership are frankly suiting themselves and they're playing with it and saying, should bring 2 over for now, see how we go. Always with the option of if any more teams go under financially. And by the way, that was a sad day for rugby. Worcester and Wasps is looking bad as well.
There's a high word as well. There's 2 other teams that might be in exactly the same boat.
I've heard who one of them is as a rumour, but we'll not discuss rumours.
Yeah, that one's been discussed today, saying they're okay financially according to the CEO. So, you know, right. But I am not a fan whatsoever of these. Like I'm in your camp, all 4, all 2, or all 4, or not at all. I'm in that camp all day. But we were having a chat about who it could be. In terms of stadium size, the Premiership have got a really stringent ruling on how big the stadium has to be to enter Premiership rugby, which is why Ealing Trailfinders were refused their promotion. Mm-hmm. So the only ones really with a big enough stadium is Ospreys and Scarlets. And I can't see any of the Premiership sides, or indeed even the Scarlets or Ospreys fans wanting to travel. They can't even travel from Meath to Swansea. The chance of travelling from Swansea to Leicester Tigers week in, week out is
well, see, that's one of the arguments that some of the Welsh fans that are for it, and by the way, they aren't all for it, say that more fans will travel to the likes of Bristol and Exeter, but will they? Because it hasn't. But I just don't like this idea of half ideas, you know, half and half. I mean, at the end of the day, we have got teams that, and Johnny, what happened there? We're stretching ourselves. I mean, you could reduce the league and just do home and away fixtures, but I think a lot of people would like Johnny, rather than this conference thing. But it depends on numbers of games and revenue from that, television revenue, and we have to remember CVC are involved now, and it's going to come down to the finances. So that will dictate very much the format of the league. I would love to see home and aways, and just a league at the end, even if you have to have the bloody playoffs at the end to decide who wins it. I mean, we've seen. I mean, the last one was Leinster, wasn't it? They were like 14 points or something in front, and had to play a playoff
to justify their win. Yeah. Well, the thing there is, Nigel, you know, what was my train of thought on that 2-league thing? The Premiership. At least the Premiership, you can win the title and then you win the cup. They actually give you the chance to be the title winners and then the cup winners, and that's something that if URSC went home and away again. I think that's right. So back to 2012, it was 2012. We won technically the year, but we lost the playoff. You know, and you can sort of see you've got to make that distinction.
So I'm just reading comments here. Joe's put one up, which I think is a valid one. You know, I think it could be a disastrous move. You know, it's about will it be anywhere close to competitive. Also, let's not forget that at some stage relegation will come back into the Premiership, possibly in the next 2 seasons. If 2 Welsh teams move it over, are they pretty certain they would be out of that zone or in that zone? Plus, how will the Championship teams react to this? You know, because they've been, they've now put a freeze on promotion relegation. They didn't allow them up because of stadium sizes. And now they're going to be told, oh, look, there's two teams possibly having to leave here. They might be expecting, oh, great.
We're getting the call up. Yeah.
No, we're going to bring 2 Welsh teams in. It's going to create a lot of ill feeling, I think, amongst English fans.
But it's there's no one that I've come across really in Wales yet that is strongly for sides moving into the Premiership. In terms of the contacts I have down here, no one's really keen on it.
I've seen a few online advocating it, but
you'll see the odd one coming up. But the other thing is, would that then mean that 2 in the Premiership, 2 Welsh sides would automatically progress into the Champions/Challenge Cup automatically, and then 2 would automatically qualify in the URSC, meaning all 4 would technically go into Europe. That doesn't seem right.
That's a good point. Actually, they'd have to finish well up the league to get into that. Yeah, somebody of me, I kept calling Tom Stewart, Rob Stewart. Why, I don't know. Anyway, actually, it was you, Chris. But yeah, it could make their qualification for Europe, because at the minute we've got the Shield winners, don't they? And they go through. So that they wouldn't. How would that work on a Shield? Because it would depend if they brought other teams in and say.
Well, they're going to have to bring someone from Bulgaria, 2 Bulgarian sides in or something like that, to then.
I think the next team that must get a look in for me is Georgia, and I would do it as a franchise, a bit like the Argentinians did with the Jaguares, because I think if you just stick a team in, that you don't want another whipping boy, But we have to try and find interesting ways of bringing these teams up and bringing these.
The only way to do it is to make Italy. So South Africa is 4, Italy, and then Georgia, whatever, is another 4. Scotland and Wales make a 4 out of the 2 and 2, and then obviously the Irish province again. So you'd see.
I don't know what way the votes work, because obviously the URC are stakeholders in the competition, but if you're going to take half your teams out of it, that must dilute the say you have in it. And of course, it would then rely on the input of the other unions as well. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Well, we seem to be in agreement. Dave, what do you think? I think it's 4 in or 4 out for me, not 2 and 2.
For me, it has to be all in or all out. There's no. If you're going to put 2 in, and 2 out, which 2 go in, you're going to get the fan reaction, the fan backlash. You're going to get the backlash from everybody else, and also the fact is the contracts are locked in. So really, they're going to have to until those contracts expire before they can get out of there anyway. So it's a no-brainer here.
Just put an idea up there, which I would kind of be leaning towards. I'd like to see a Georgian franchise in, possibly Bulgarian, or Spain and Portugal, possibly Romania. That's their possibilities too. I would look to those before bringing in a pile more South African franchises, with the exception of the Cheetahs. I actually wouldn't mind seeing the Cheetahs back in, and because I've always felt bad about how they were removed.
They were totally stuffed.
Yeah, so I mean, I always liked the Cheetahs and always liked their fans and the setup they had. But anyway, we're running out of time.
But here, put it this way. I see if you're thinking of Spain, are we going to have an eligible player in there somewhere just for the, or we're going to have every team have an eligible player just for the crack?
What do you mean?
Anytime I've seen the Spanish, they always get kicked out of World Cup.
Oh God! But they're good for the old dust-ups when they play the Portuguese as well, aren't they?
It's an absolute knuckle duster, that one.
Even Charles, sorry to hear that news about your friend, mate. Sorry to hear that. Bad news. That's an old friend.
Well, before we go, lads, I'm going to give a wee shout out here. I know we couldn't make it for the show this evening, but I want to give a wee shout out to Rob Rossiter from Rugby Cubs, NI, doing some absolutely brilliant work. And at the minute, actually, my cub Corey's actually attend some of his sessions up at City of Derry Rugby Club. So we'll be seeing him again on Saturday. But I was speaking to Rob there, and we'll have to try and get him on next month's show, hopefully, and get a wee chat about what he does down there. It's absolutely brilliant, and of course helping out a few of the kids down at the Circle of Support group down here. It's been brilliant.
Quick shout out before we go to you about we'll have to mention it as the judgment has now been given out. Bundy Aki's hit in the Stormers game at the weekend. He's been banned for 8 weeks, although I believe it's 7 if he goes to tackle school. Although what a 32-year-old would benefit from tackle school, I don't know. That's been playing international rugby for the last 5 or 6 years. We were watching the video earlier, and yeah, I can see where they came to red on that. I think it was the impact, the speed of the impact, as much as where it was. He went in quite hard and heavy. I thought he was lucky because he gave the ref a bit of stick, and that could have went against him, I thought, but didn't seem to. Really, I mean, 8 weeks.
Well, it actually did. So if you look at the breakdown,
was that part of it? Sorry, I didn't read it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I think I could probably find the statement pretty quick. So the rundown, but it was really taken into consideration when they handed down the sanction. So let me just see if I can find that. Can I find it? But I can't find it now.
I think you try and find out. I think it rules about the autumn internationals, but he's doing this a bit often now, and I wonder if Farrell's not going to give him a kick up the backside somehow or other here. I don't know. I mean, he's part of the Ireland setup. He's part of the squad. He might walk straight back in when he gets back, but I mean, this is.
Yeah. So
I think he's up there because he's a good player for playing attacking rugby, but he's a liability at times, and I don't know how they're going to fix him, but he needs. So
it goes on to say, consider the player's actions and demeanour towards the referee in connection with the issue of the red card, which he found did not meet the expected standards. This was also taken into account in accordance with URC's disciplinary in determining the player's offending was at the top end of the scale of seriousness, which warranted an entry point sanction of 10 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, so they took all of it in. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Right. And Joe, I saw you putting this up before about do Sanzar have different processes to the URC? I think they've got different perceptions, and I would agree with that because they do seem to look at things differently. The 6 weeks that Swain got was, I mean, that guy's put a guy out for a season. That was a horrible hit. What he did, and 6 weeks is just ridiculous. It's not even a disincentive. He'd feel he's got away with one there, or he should. He was very, very lucky not to get a really long ban for that. So good news for McCluskey's prospects. Possibly, Nathan. It depends. It depends on the attitude Farrell takes with him. I mean, Farrell may be, sometimes coaches can take a bit of a, right, that's once too often for me. You're a bit of a liability, and I need to punish you for this. So we'll see. He's probably next in line because obviously Chris Farrell's, for other reasons we'll not discuss, is not available for selection. But James Hume will be. Let's not forget. In fact, James Hume, I think, is due to be fit in the next couple of weeks. So he's going to be available. Although he's a 13. We'll see. We'll see. I think the fact that McCluskey he's played well for Ulster for 2-3 seasons, but he had a good run out against the Maoris on the New Zealand tour. He went at short notice as well, which I think probably makes up for any of the rumours that people say are the reason he wasn't picked before. He jumped on a plane, he flew over and he played, so fair play to him. And that may get him a bit back into favour. And the timing of it may be good given what's happened recently with other centres. We will see. But guys, we better wrap it up because Dave's going to be typing in private chat. Wrap us up, would you guys?
I just don't want the whole thing to stop and go. You don't want that.
Well, look, guys, brilliant chat. It's great to be back. We'll just by the way, folks, if you've got something you'd like to see discussed about Ulster Rugby, and that's everything from grassroots up, fire us a line. Go onto the 3BOD group page on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, and follow what we're doing. And if you've got a suggestion, fire it in there. That's the place to do it. Leave a message. Anybody that wants to come on and promote their club, let us know, or promote their team, whether it be tag, whether it be whatever it is. If it's rugby, we want to hear about it in Ulster. Anybody that's got training programs that we're not aware of, anything like that, come on, guys. We want to hear from you, folks. Brilliant, and thanks to David and Chris. A pleasure as always, guys. And And thanks to our sponsors, I'll not run them through. They've been ticking along there. And one of them's me. It's a bit embarrassing.
Couldn't be embarrassing. I know.
They've been running along the bottom there, so you know who they are. If you need our services, give us a shout. We will see you around the same time next month again, and we will put up a pre-show to tell you what we're discussing. But like I say, if you've got ideas, let us hear them. Let us hear them. And thanks to the sponsors for the continued support, because they've been with us now, some of them for a couple of seasons. And we'll see everybody next month. Please get in touch. It's your show too. Give us ideas, guys. And we will see you next month, folks.
Brilliant.
And Chris, don't be doing anything I wouldn't.
No, I never have, because I'm very pure and innocent and young and naive like you, Mr. Toppin.
Oh, well, you know it.
Right, guys, thank you for that very much this evening.
Right,
thank you
guys.
everybody for listening in. Speak to you soon. Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks. See you, folks.